So many managers, again, never get out of this inner circle here of leading specifically out of just the position. They expect people to do what they want them to do because they say, I'm the boss. Do it because I told you, just like I did in that high school classroom. Still kind of embarrassing even to say. All they have is this one move. Do it because I told you to do it. And again, sometimes that move is enough. But if you only have that move, then you're going to be very limited in your ability to lead other people. So how do I move to this place? How do I begin to gain the permission? How do I get permission from other people when I am currently kind of in this position where I've just gotten the new position and I'm trying to get people to follow me? How do I begin to gain permission? That's what I want to talk about as we move through the rest of session number 2. How do I get to this thing and develop fellowship with other people? Okay, so here we go. We're on page 2 of our notes here. Permission will always come through building a measure of relationship with others. Again, when you are the boss, you don't have to worry about relationship. You don't have to worry about people knowing you and you getting to know one another. As a matter of fact, usually there's a pretty strong boundary around that. Well, I don't want to be friends with my employees. Okay, I get that. I'm not talking about being their best buddies. But what we are talking about is if you want to move forward, if you want to lead people through struggle, through difficulty, if you want people to follow you and stick with you, then you have to develop this measure of relationship. And again, building relationships, it's not rocket science, but it has to be deliberate. So what I've got here is on this road to trust, okay? Because that's where we are going to get to this beautiful thing called fellowship. So when they trust you, they will follow you anywhere. Again, I can promise you, it actually works. Remember, 86% of a very difficult group, that early 20 age, said, we will follow you and we'll actually pay for it. I've even had people before, septic systems and stuff like that. I remember getting a little 18-year-old girl willing to put her hand down in what we called the crap pipe. Yeah, it's down in like the sewage clean out to unlock some stuff because my hand wouldn't fit. I needed a smaller hand. She was willing to do it. Again, because of the personal development. Okay, it's a long story. We're not going to get into it right now. But here we go. So we want to get to this thing called trust. So my path to trust is relationship. We build the relationship. And then we begin to add challenges to the relationship. So relationships plus challenges equals trust. Again, going back to my circles again, if this is where the relationship is and this is where the challenge comes in, I can promise you right now the relationship is going to be broken. Trust is going to be broken. For instance, let's say that my relationship is here, but the challenge is I need you to stay extra hours. I need you to work this weekend. I need you to move from this position to that position. I need you to do something that's going to be really difficult for you. If my relationship isn't big enough, then what will happen is when I add this measure of challenge, it will break trust. People will begin to say, I can't believe you expect me to do that. Have you heard that before? Have you thought that before? If you're going to do that, you're going to have to pay me more money. That's a trust issue. People saying, I'll do that if you do this. Again, I've done this a ton. I've been the person that has griped and complained because of broken relationship, because of broken challenge, and because of broken trust. So we have to be really careful. And as a leader, it's important that you see the challenges before they happen, that you actually prepare people for the challenges. Well, Clay, how do I prepare for challenges? How do I get people prepared? Once again, the way that you prepare people for the challenge is you build the relationship, strengthen the relationship because you see the challenge come. It's happened to me all the time as a coach. I was always focused not just on the game that week, not just on getting this, although you hear that from coaches. We're just focused on one game at a time, and I get that. But the reason why we focus one game at a time is because I wanted to get to the championship. And my whole thing is, this is what we need to do this week so we can move forward, so we can be in the championship game. And so as I began to grab others and bring other athletes around me, it was all with the idea that they would be able to meet the challenge. So I had to prepare them because I saw the challenges that were going to be coming on the way to the championship. And so we could prepare for those. So as I worked with managers across the country, I find a common belief that as a manager, I'm not here to be their friend. I'm here to be their boss. If I'm just here to be their friend, we won't ever get anything done. And again, I get that. But I promise you, you will be able to get more accomplished if you can gain permission from the people than if you just approach it as the boss and approach it from the position. So how do you build relationships? Well, how about this? It's not rocket science. How do you build relationships? What are some of the things that you know have to be involved in building relationships with another person? I put a blank here for you to begin writing, just like 3, 4, 5 words. What things do you see are very important when it comes to building a relationship with another person? Okay, so let's just write down. I imagine that you have probably come up with some of these. Okay, so some of the requirements to building a relationship. Our first one here is probably somewhere on there. You got to spend some time with them. Okay, it's important. It's tough to build without time. Number 2, we probably need to, I love this one. You got to talk to them. Okay? You can't just leave them over there. You actually have to engage in conversation. I love this one too. You got to listen. Okay? Got to listen when they're talking. Oh, again, if you are a strong manager already, you're just saying, drop the mic, Clay. I don't want to spend time with them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to listen to them. I just want them to do their work. Okay? And again, I get that. But if you stay in that mindset, I just promise you, if you stay in that mindset, you will really struggle in leading people through difficult times. Okay? It'll be hard. You might find that you have to fire people often to get in new people, as opposed to being able to bring your team, being able to bring your group through. You may have 4 or 5 other things listed here in this box about requirements in building a relationship. Probably a measure of empathy, measure of compassion, measure of understanding that you have to have. Again, if you are a strong leader or a strong manager, those things just seem like they take up too much time. They drain you of energy. Do I really have to do this? Yes, to a measure, you have to do it so that you can gain permission from your people to follow you. Again, this is so you can build fellowship. If you're like me, I wasn't as interested in fellowship. People follow me because I'm the boss. I was interested in leadership. I wanted to be the leader. And I get that. That's okay. But if you actually want people to follow you, we have to build this thing called fellowship. So now that you've been a great worker and you're doing a great job, you're knocking it out of the park, and you've got plaques on the wall of being the employee of the month and all that kind of stuff, how can you begin to expand your world? How can you begin to expand and position yourself to grow in the company? What you begin to do is you begin to gain permission from other people to follow you. You don't have to have the position to get people to follow you. You don't have to have the position to get permission. You just begin to build those relationships and drawing people toward you. So the key ingredients, these ingredients, they have to be involved in helping you create these relationships and build these relationships. So which of these ingredients have you used so far? Again, you might be in a management position and you're struggling. Remember the story I told you in our last session about me spending time with about 300 government managers. And I asked them, they actually had invited me to come in, and they wanted me to speak specifically to the problem of we can't get people to do what we're asking them to do. That's why they asked me to come in. And so I asked them, how many of you guys have been trained in team building? Had a few people raise their hand. I was going, so what did that look like? Well, I did a ropes course one time. Okay, and I get that. That's fun. But How many of you have taken like a specific season of your life to specifically and intentionally learn how to be a team builder? 0 raised their hands. So here we are with the big problem of this big group is trying to get people to follow, and none of them have spent time developing fellowship. They hadn't learned how to do that. No wonder they were struggling with that. So this is a very important step as you move up. Remember our pyramid. As you move up from the worker level to the team builder level to the manager to the leader. If you leave out this team builder, it makes management and leadership much more difficult. And again, just this problem that is chronic in our workplace today of, Clay, I just can't get people to do what I ask them to do. Just can't find good workers. Just can't find people that will do what I'm asking them. I can't find good team players. I promise you they're out there. But it's going to take a measurement of you learning how to get permission from people. So it's at this point where this word sincerity comes up. This idea of trying to develop, because I've seen this before, and I know you've been in this spot before too, where there has been a leader in your world that has come and they're trying to build the relationship. Hey, Sparky, they're coming up, they're kind of rubbing your head or something like that, and they're trying to build the relationship, but man, it is awkward. It's just insincere, and you can tell that they're just trying to position you or manipulate you. They're trying to get you in this position where they can get you to do something. You can just feel it when they're doing it. It really lacks a measure of sincerity. So again, to do this rightly, to gain permission rightly, correctly, we have to make sure that we maintain a measure of sincerity. Ooh, that can be tough. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment of how do I increase my amount of sincerity when I don't really have a whole lot in common with these people. When, Clay, I don't even know if I like these people, okay? It's all right. You can still build to permission. You can still go to this level here, even if you don't like them a whole lot, and even if you don't have a lot in common with them on a personal basis. Okay? We're going to talk about that here in just a moment. So if you have had this experience of an insincere leader, a person that's come and tried to build relationships, what did that look like? What were they doing that made it feel insincere? How were you feeling? How were you experiencing that? And then also, how does a person become, how about this? How does a person become more sincere? At some level, there has to be a connection to it. There has to be a human connection to something for me to actually come across with any measure of sincerity. So what do you think are some key factors involved? I'm on our next page in notes here. What do you think are some key factors involved in you feeling like somebody is truly sincere? What are those things? Anything here? Does this look familiar? It's interesting. All of a sudden, Mr. Leader guy shows up in your office. Hey, Frank, how are you doing? How about you and I doing X, Y, and Z? And you're going, I didn't even know you knew my name. You've never spent any time with me, and all of a sudden you're wanting to do all this stuff. A little awkward, okay? Frank, just tell me about your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. Just go ahead. I just want to talk. Just want to be friends here. It's like awkward because I don't even know you. Coming on a little too strong. So these things we move in these measure by measure by measure as we build relationships, just like you do with your friends that you have. The relationship builds step by step by step. If you try to move too quickly, all right, you can find another person can begin to freak out a little bit. So we have to move slowly. So at the very beginning of team building is, as I've said, trust building. Trust begins with relationships, and relationships will lead to permission. I promise you, relationships will lead to permission. When you have a group of people that have given you permission to lead them, you are well on your way to building a team. Not just getting a group of individuals together, okay, but actually building a team. I've heard it this way one time. A bunch of people, okay? A bunch of people in an elevator is called a group. But a bunch of people in an elevator that's broken is now a team. What's happened? What's the difference? There's now a common goal. Get me out of here. All right? Everybody now has something in common. Everybody now has a common purpose. And without that common purpose, it's going to be very difficult for you to build a team. Just right now, I'm working with a client over in Oklahoma City. Wonderful client. He's got 25 people that he's working with, a bunch of graphic design artists and computer gurus and things like that. There's 25 different ones. The problem is right now is they are all in silos. 25 different silos. And so he's trying to lead all 25 of them different ways, because they don't have any sense of common purpose. In fact, they've even kind of built up this mindset of, no, this is my purpose. I am not doing your thing, and you are not doing my thing. Leave me alone. Let me do my thing. Ooh, it's a tough mindset to work with when you're trying to build a team. So we're working with him on helping him bring people together under one flag so that they can all begin to sing from the same sheet of music. It's very important to do that. Again, it may not actually come out in the specific job that they do every day, but the overarching purpose, the overarching reason why they are there on a daily basis has to be common with everyone. So I've given us a little sequence here that I want to go through, a little sequence on how we build, how we go from this place called sincerity all the way to where we have a team. So we're going to erase this here, put it in this area. Right there. Ta-da. So, it starts out with there has to be a willingness from you to be sincere. I think that's how you spell sincere. I could be way off, all right? I think it is, though. Sincere. It starts, number one, with being sincere. There has to be a real connection, a real emotional connection. Again, leaders and managers can kind of struggle with this a little bit. But a real desire to connect with other people. From sincerity, we move to number two. My marker's struggling here. We move to number two, which is through this doorway of sincerity, I'm able to build a relationship. As we said earlier, once I have built a measure of relationship, I can begin to challenge that relationship. Now, what does that mean to challenge the relationship? This can start very simply. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can start very simply, okay? You could, once you have built a measure of relationship with someone, you can begin to ask them to do something for you, okay? To do something for you. You can start out very small. Would you mind coming in a little bit early tomorrow? Like 10 minutes early? I'd like to have a cup of coffee with you. Hey, here in a little bit, could you move that thing over there for me? Appreciate that. Anything that you are asking them to do for you, these are small steps, little testers that you're checking to see, will this person follow me? If I come over here, will you go over here with me? So we begin to add to the relationship a gradual progression of challenges. Bam, that was perfect. See how that works? All right. Team right there. Team. See how this is happening? All right. So we gradually build in these small challenges. And again, it can start from, you might come in about 10 minutes early. Okay. I'm just using this as an example. Come in about 10 minutes early. Let's have a cup of coffee. Sure. Maybe a little bit later on down the road. How about if you come in 30 minutes early? Oh, no, I can't do that. Okay, you have found the boundary. Okay. Or maybe they say, sure, yeah, that'll be fine. And then you ask them a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And each time you are expanding the challenge based on the relationship. And during that time having coffee, if you can actually begin to encourage them and put stuff into their life, share a book that you're reading or something that's going to help them grow, now you're moving straight through permission and into that next level called that personal production, okay, or personal development. Man, that's a sweet spot, all right? That's a great spot to be on the mountain of leadership.